Are you tired of letting fear control your life? Are you ready to untie the knots of anxiety and unleash your true potential? What if I told you, you hold the power to transform your fears into fuel for your journey? I'm here to guide you through the 7 Stoic principles that can help you navigate the stormy seas of life with the sureness of a lighthouse. This isn't just a speech, it's your roadmap to freedom, resilience, and genuine happiness. Together, we'll wrestle with the monsters under your bed and find a way to turn them into stepping stones. So stick with me till the end, because today, we're not just battling fear, we're learning how to stop being afraid. Today, you take back control and begin to truly live. Are you ready? The first principle is the principle of acceptance. This principle fundamentally has to do with our understanding and acceptance of the fact that there are certain things in life that we simply have no control over. It's about coming to terms with the realities of life and being able to move forward, despite the challenges that might stand in our way. Let's consider an everyday scenario. You're driving to an important meeting and bang, you have a flat tire. It's raining cats and dogs and you're stuck on the side of the highway. You can either choose to feel dejected, cursing your bad luck, or you can choose to accept the situation for what it is and effectively deal with it. The flat tire and the rain are circumstances beyond your control. They're external factors that you cannot change. However, your reaction to these events is entirely within your grasp. The principle of acceptance is all about understanding the difference between these external and internal factors. Now, acceptance does not mean giving up or submitting to your fate. It is not an excuse for complacency. Rather, it's about focusing your energy on the things you can actually influence. It's about not allowing the uncontrollable events of life to dictate your peace of mind and happiness. This principle is often misunderstood. People tend to equate acceptance with resignation. They believe that accepting a situation implies being happy or content with it. But that's not the case. Acceptance is merely acknowledging a situation for what it is, not what we wish it to be. It's the first step towards effective problem solving and decision making. Acceptance helps in reducing anxiety and stress. The more we resist reality, the more we suffer. This suffering does not come from the events in our lives, but from our judgment of these events. When we learn to see things objectively, without the cloud of our subjective judgments, we can navigate through any situation with clarity and poise. For example, let's go back to the flat tire situation. You can either waste your energy being upset about it or accept it, call for help or replace the tire if you can, and use the waiting time to prepare for your meeting. You can't change the fact that it's raining or that you got a flat tire, but you can change how you respond to it. The Stoics believe that we suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our interpretation of these events. By practicing acceptance, we can see things as they are, not worse than they are, and definitely not through the lens of our fears and insecurities. So, how can you practice the principle of acceptance? Start by paying attention to your reactions. The next time something doesn't go your way, notice how you feel. Are you angry? Frustrated? Disappointed? Once you've identified these feelings, try to let them go. Accept that the situation is what it is. This doesn't mean you have to like it, but merely acknowledge it. This is the first step towards acceptance. To wrap up, the principle of acceptance is about distinguishing between what we can control and what we can't, and focusing our energy on the former. Life is unpredictable and full of challenges. By accepting things as they are, we can reduce unnecessary stress and make more rational decisions. Remember, acceptance is not about being passive, it's about being realistic, proactive, and resilient. Principle number 2, the principle of objectivity. In the pursuit of mastering our fears, we often stumble upon the obstacle of subjectivity. Our emotions, our perspectives, and our personal biases cloud our judgment and amplify our fears. This is where the Stoic principle of objectivity comes into play. This principle, at its core, urges us to differentiate facts from emotions and view situations as they truly are, devoid of our emotional overlays. Let's delve a bit deeper. Imagine you're in a room full of people and you're asked to speak. Your heart beats in your chest like a wild drum, your palms are sweaty, and you wish you were anywhere else but here. This is fear, right? But what if it's not the public speaking that you're afraid of, but the fear of being judged, the fear of making a mistake, or the fear of not being good enough? In this situation, the objective fact is that you're asked to speak in front of an audience. The rest is your subjective interpretation. You assume that people will judge you, laugh at you, or criticize you. But are these assumptions grounded in reality? Or are they just ghosts of your own creation? Learning how to distinguish between these objective facts and subjective interpretations is the key to understanding and implementing the principle of objectivity. Practicing objectivity allows you to strip away the layers of fear that you build around certain situations. It gives you clarity and helps you address the real issues at hand without getting lost in a maze of your own fears. Consider the example of a pilot. When faced with turbulent weather, a pilot cannot afford to panic or let fear take over. They need to remain objective, focus on the facts, and navigate the situation accordingly. If they start considering subjective possibilities, like the plane might crash, they may not survive, they will not be able to take appropriate actions. This does not mean they deny the presence of danger, but they choose to focus on the facts and what they can do in the current scenario. Similarly, when we learn to look at life objectively, we realize that many of our fears are not based on facts, but on subjective interpretations and worst-case scenarios that we've created in our minds. And just as we have created them, we have the power to dismantle them. Remember, the world is not scary, it's our perception of the world that makes it appear so. The principle of objectivity helps us to declutter our minds, focus on the facts, and deal with situations as they are, not as we imagine them to be. The journey towards objectivity is not easy. It requires practice, patience, and above all, honesty with oneself. But once you master this principle, you'll find that fears lose their hold on you. They no longer seem like insurmountable mountains, but rather like stepping stones that guide you on your path towards growth and self-improvement. So, the next time you find yourself trapped in the clutches of fear, take a step back. Separate the facts from your emotions. You'll find that the world is not as terrifying as it seemed, and you are stronger than you ever believed. Let's delve deeper into the third Stoic principle, the principle of self-awareness. Before we can conquer our fears, we must first acknowledge and understand them. This principle is about shining a light on those shadowy corners of our minds where fear resides, and learning to understand what they represent. Fear is an emotional response to perceived threats. It's part of our evolutionary survival mechanism that alerts us to danger. But when these fears are not about life or death situations, but about things like public speaking, meeting new people, or trying new experiences, they can limit us. That's why self-awareness is crucial. Have you ever thought about what makes you afraid? Perhaps it's the fear of failure, rejection, or even success. The first step towards overcoming these fears is getting a firm hold on what they are and why they exist. Now, let's say you're afraid of public speaking. Rather than avoiding it or breaking into a cold sweat every time you have to speak in front of a crowd, take a step back and try to understand this fear. Ask yourself, why am I afraid of public speaking? Is it the fear of messing up and being laughed at? The fear of forgetting your lines? Or the fear of being judged? Once you identify the root cause, you've taken the first major step towards neutralizing it. Now, how do we develop this self-awareness? A good starting point is self-reflection. Dedicate some time each day to sit with your thoughts. You can maintain a journal or simply meditate on your feelings and thoughts. As you develop a habit of introspection, you will begin to recognize patterns in your thoughts and behaviors, making it easier to identify the triggers of your fear. Another powerful tool for developing self-awareness is mindfulness. This is the practice of being fully present and engaged in the current moment, without judgment. By practicing mindfulness, you can learn to observe your feelings of fear without being swept away by them. This allows you to respond to fear consciously and rationally, rather than reacting impulsively. We also have the power of perspective. Once we understand our fears, we can start to question whether they're as scary or as powerful as we've made them out to be. Often, our fears are based on worst-case scenarios that are unlikely to happen. When we realize this, we can begin to take control back from our fears. Remember, self-awareness is not an overnight achievement. It's a journey of understanding oneself better each day. As you become more self-aware, you'll realize that fear can't control you unless you allow it to. You'll understand that fear is not a stop sign, but a stepping stone to growth and learning. So, take this third Stoic principle to heart. Embrace self-awareness, face your fears, understand them, and ultimately, learn to navigate through them. Fear is a part of life, but it should never be the director of your life script. With self-awareness, you can start writing your own script, and it begins with, I am no longer afraid. Have you ever noticed how trees in windy places seem to stand the tallest and the strongest? There's a reason behind this. The winds, while seemingly harsh, are in fact sculpting these trees, forcing them to develop deep roots and robust trunks. They weather the storm, and in doing so, they become symbols of resilience and strength. This is the fourth principle of Stoicism, the principle of resilience, and it's an essential tool for combating fear. When fear strikes, it's often because we're facing something challenging or uncomfortable. It's because we're standing in a storm, and it's far too easy to wish for the storm to pass or even to run from it. But Stoicism invites us to do something remarkably different, to stand tall and let the wind shape us, to transform adversity into strength. If you've been let go from your job, for instance, it's natural to feel afraid. You might fear the uncertainty of the future or question your own abilities. But what if, instead of being paralyzed by this fear, you saw this as an opportunity to grow, to learn new skills, or even start that business you've always dreamed of? What if you could use this setback as a setup for a comeback? The same applies to personal adversity. The end of a relationship, for instance, can be heart-wrenching. It's easy to fear being alone or worry that we'll never find love again. It's much harder, yet far more rewarding, to learn from that experience, to grow from it, and ultimately, to become a better partner. The principle of resilience teaches us to transform fear into a tool for personal growth. It doesn't belittle our fears or challenges. Instead, it acknowledges that they are part of life, part of our human experience. But it empowers us to stand tall amidst these adversities, to weather the storm, and emerge stronger. So, the next time you find yourself in a situation that stirs up fear, remember the tree and the wind. Don't run from the storm. Stand firm. Allow it to deepen your roots and strengthen your trunk. Remember, the wind doesn't break the tree, it trains it to withstand even greater storms. Before we continue, I want to remind you all to hit the subscribe button. This journey of overcoming fear isn't a one-time deal. It's a lifelong process, and I want to be here to guide and support you every step of the way. So, hit subscribe, and let's continue this journey together. Is there anything else you would like me to write about or elaborate on? Absolutely. Let's dive deeper into the principle of perspective, replacing fear with gratitude. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. What do you see? Most of us would immediately point out our flaws, the imperfections that make us self-conscious. But what if I told you that this mirror could show you more? That it could reflect not just your image, but your outlook towards life? Our lives are very much like this mirror. What we see often depends on what we choose to focus on. The principle of perspective encourages us to adjust our focus from fear to gratitude. If we can train ourselves to see the good, the positive, and the opportunities, then we're no longer enslaved by fear. We're liberated by gratitude. This shift in perspective is especially crucial when dealing with fears associated with inevitable life events, like aging. Aging is a universal process. No one is immune to it. Yet, it's a source of anxiety for many. We dread the physical changes it brings, the perceived loss of attractiveness, the approaching end of life's timeline. But what if we could adjust our mirror to see this process differently? Instead of viewing aging as a threat, consider it a privilege. Every day, every year that passes is a gift not afforded to everyone. With each day, we gain experiences, wisdom, and opportunities to create memories. Sure, there are challenges, but these, too, are part of the package of life, enhancing the value of good times and successes. But how do we make this shift from fear to gratitude? It's not about ignoring the negative or the challenges. It's about acknowledging them, but choosing to focus on the positives. It's about actively seeking the good in every situation. It's like tuning a radio. There's static, there's noise, but there's also music. We just need to adjust our frequency. Start small. Begin your day by listing 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. Perhaps you're grateful for a good night's sleep, the smell of coffee in the morning, a kind word from a loved one. What this does is prime your brain to start looking for positives throughout the day. It's a way of conditioning your mind to see the good. Remember, gratitude and fear are like 2 ends of a seesaw. When one rises, the other falls. So, if we want to reduce our fear, we need to elevate our sense of gratitude. We cannot control everything that happens in life, but we can control how we perceive it. By applying the principle of perspective, we can turn the mirror of fear into a lens of gratitude. In doing so, we do not just cope with fear, we overcome it. We replace dread with appreciation, anxiety with joy. We stop merely surviving, and we start truly living. So, next time you stand in front of the mirror, take a moment. Look beyond the physical and focus on the good, the positive, and the opportunities. Reflect gratitude, banish fear. Because life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass, it's about learning to dance in the rain. Remember, the power to change your perspective lies within you. It's not an easy change, but it's worth it. Because on the other side of fear is a life lived with joy, gratitude, and fulfillment. So, adjust your mirror, tune your radio, and watch as fear gives way to a life of gratitude. Principle number 6, the principle of action, beckons us to step into the arena of our fears, to take the initiative despite the risks, to move towards our goals even when the outcome is uncertain. It's about understanding that inaction is the real enemy, not failure. The ancient Stoics believed that our actions define us. Their philosophy was deeply practical, revolving around what we do and how we react, rather than theoretical musings. Now, imagine a goal you have, something that scares you, a dream job, a creative project, a personal challenge. You want to take the first step, but fear creates a wall. You're afraid of failing, of being judged, of losing. And with each passing day, that wall grows higher, doesn't it? But let's pause for a moment and look at this fear, this wall, objectively. Isn't it true that by not even trying, by not taking action, you're already on the losing end? Remember, not taking action is the biggest failure. Life is not a spectator sport, it requires active participation. Let's consider Thomas Edison. He failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. But did he truly fail? No, each attempt was a step closer to his goal. Each failure was a lesson learned, a discovery made. Without taking action, without those so-called failures, we wouldn't have the light bulb. Fear is an illusion that paralyzes us, but action is the antidote to fear. Not every step you take will lead to success, but each step will bring you closer to it. Each action, whether it yields success or failure, is a stepping stone on your journey. So, how can you start implementing the principle of action in your life? Start small. Break down your goal into achievable steps. If your dream is to write a novel, start by writing a paragraph, then a page, then a chapter. If you want to land your dream job, start by updating your resume, then applying for jobs, then preparing for interviews. Remember, every action counts, no matter how small. In fact, small actions are powerful because they're manageable and less daunting. They keep the momentum going. And what if you fail? Remember, failure, in the grand scheme of things, is temporary and fleeting. It's a teacher, a guidepost that shows you what doesn't work so you can find what does. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Embrace the principle of action. Allow it to liberate you from the paralysis of fear. Yes, you may stumble, you may fall, but you will also learn, grow, and ultimately, you will succeed. So, take the first step, take action today, and you'll be one step closer to your dreams tomorrow. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, and that step is action. The Stoic principle of action isn't just about overcoming fear. It's about empowering yourself to live fully, to participate actively in the unfolding narrative of your life. It's about understanding that life isn't something that happens to you, but something you actively create with each decision, each action you take. It's your life. Don't let fear steal the pen. Take action and write your own success. Principle number 7, the principle of inner peace. This principle, my friends, is all about understanding the importance of finding tranquility within yourself. It's learning to bask in the serenity of your own company, finding comfort and peace within your own thoughts, and essentially, being your own best friend. Now I know, you might be thinking, inner peace? How does that help me stop being afraid? Well, let's delve into this. Imagine for a moment that you're afraid of being alone. You equate being alone with loneliness, emptiness, or even abandonment. But let me tell you, being alone and being lonely are two very distinct states. Being alone refers to the physical state of being by oneself, while loneliness is an emotional state characterized by a sense of isolation. Loneliness can be experienced even when surrounded by people. The fear of being alone is often rooted in the fear of facing our own thoughts, feelings, and the parts of us that we keep hidden from the world. But what if, instead of running away, we embraced our solitude and found peace within it? What if we could sit with our thoughts and not only acknowledge them, but also learn from them? What if we could use these moments of solitude as opportunities to grow, to understand ourselves better, and to truly appreciate the company of our own thoughts? Embracing the principle of inner peace begins with self-acceptance and self-love. It's recognizing that you are enough, just as you are. It's about understanding that every emotion, every thought, every part of you is valid and worth your attention. Practicing this principle starts with small steps. It could be spending 10 minutes in silence each day, reflecting on your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Or it could be engaging in self-care activities that you love and doing them alone. It could be as simple as taking a walk in the park, reading a book, or even cooking your favorite meal. Whatever activity you choose, the objective is to enjoy your own company, to relish in the peace that comes from being alone with your thoughts. With time, you'll find that solitude is not something to be feared, but a state to be cherished. It's a time to recharge, to reconnect with yourself, to reflect on your experiences, and to grow. You will learn that you are your own safe haven, your own source of comfort, and your own pillar of support. Remember, you are the captain of your own ship, and the journey towards inner peace starts with you. It's about stepping into your own power, embracing your solitude, and finding tranquility within yourself. The moment you realize that you are your best company, fear will have no place in your life. This is not a journey to be rushed, but savored. So take your time, let your journey unfold naturally, and cherish every step along the way. The principle of inner peace is a powerful tool in conquering fear. It reminds us that we are not alone, not truly, because we have ourselves. By embracing this principle, we can turn fear on its head and emerge stronger, more resilient, and more balanced. So, let's embark on this journey together and discover the tranquility that lies within each one of us. Remember, the journey towards inner peace starts with a single step. So, are you ready to take that step today?